This is Nexus Scrolls. Nexus Scrolls presents Ashes of the Iron Monk. The wind carries no voices, only ash, and the scrape of Jin-Li's boot against bone. He steps into the ruins of Rendal Hollow, like a man revisiting a grave he helped dig. The village is gone. What remains are skeletal frames of homes, blackened stone chimneys, a single well crusted in soot. Ash drifts in slow spirals, thick enough to clog the lungs, coating everything in a pallid hush. He pauses at the threshold of the main road, his cloak snapping behind him in the wind. Beneath his robes, the dull metal of his left arm ticks faintly, an old mechanism detecting spiritual residue. He ignores it. He knows what it's picking up. This was once a waypoint for pilgrims. Farmers and stonemasons lived here, raising goats and quiet children. Now a child's toy lies half melted in the ash, its wood warped, its one remaining wheel still turning in the breeze. Jin-Li kneels. The prosthetic hisses softly as he lowers himself, reverent. He doesn't touch the toy, just watches it spin. "I'm sorry," he whispers. To whom, he's not sure. Rising slowly, he walks deeper into the village. Each building tells a story in cinders. One has a collapsed roof, burned inward. Another, a charred door, still hangs by a hinge. There are bodies, but not many. What the fire didn't consume, the Red Order likely dragged away. At the village square, he stops. There it is, the mark. A crater, 10 paces across, scorched black into the cobblestone. The earth cracked outward from the center, spider-webbed fractures marking the blast pattern. Not from an explosion, no shrapnel, no flame spread. This was impact, a landing, or a descent. Embedded in the stone near the edge are massive footprints, too perfect to be accidental. Each one is rimmed in molten glass. Jin-Li recognizes the shape, metal shod, seam welded, golem forged, his throat tightens. He turns slowly, scanning the horizon, but the Iron Monk is long gone. Only the silence remains, not the peaceful kind, the choking kind. The kind that settles over places where souls died screaming. His left arm begins to hum, low, almost mournful. He grits his teeth and deactivates the energy sensors with a press to his shoulder joint. The hum dies, but the weight doesn't lift. He walks past a half-toppled shrine. It's a small stone thing, only waist-high, but once brightly painted, a place for offerings, grain, coins, prayers. Now the god's face is melted smooth. At the base, something glints beneath a layer of soot. He crouches again, brushes it away. A pendant, oval-shaped, etched with the sigil of his old monastery. A stylized flame caught in a ring of open hands. It's cracked. He closes his fingers around it. It's warm. Someone wore it recently. Maybe one of the villagers. Maybe one of the dead. The metal edges bite into his palm. How many wore this thinking it would protect them? He turns it over. The back is smooth, save for a groove where someone's thumb once rubbed it again and again. He breathes out, slow. "You said they'd bring balance, not fire," he mutters. There's no reply. Just the wind picking up now, whistling between the ruins like a breath through teeth. He stands again and keeps walking. Near the forge road, he finds a half-destroyed mural, painted along the remains of a bakery wall. It's old, likely untouched since the war began. A scene of monks and their creations, metal giants kneeling beside their human counterparts, not as weapons, but as companions. There's a taller figure near the center, haloed in gold paint. Or there was. That section is scorched away. Korran, Jin-Li stares at the gap, then steps back. He can almost hear the old man's voice, clear, calm, full of unshakable conviction. Balance is not control, it's harmony. Right, harmony. That's why there's a crater full of melted stone and a village full of ghosts. Jin-Li pulls the copper charm from his belt, a small disc engraved with Korran's teaching mantra. He's carried it for years, rubbed the edges smooth, slept with it under his tongue once when fever nearly took him. He squeezes it hard in his metal fist. The charm folds in half with a crack. "I gave you my faith," Jin-Li whispers. "You forged it into a weapon." He drops the charm into the ash. A sound breaks the stillness. Soft, skittering. He whirls around, staff half drawn from his back. Nothing, a moment passes. Then from behind a collapsed barn wall, something crawls out. Not human. It's the upper half of a golem, head and shoulders only, dragging itself on twisted arms. Its lower body is gone. Red Order glyphs pulse faintly across its chest, but erratic, damaged. One eye glows, the other is a dark socket leaking smoke. Jin-Li doesn't move. The thing drags itself closer, then halts, shuddering. It lifts its head and opens its mouth. No sound, just static. Then, "Forgive me." Jin-Li's jaw locks. The voice is distorted but unmistakable. Korran's. The golem twitches. Sparks cascade from its chest. It tries to rise but collapses again, face first in the ash. The eye dims. The machine dies. Jin-Li lowers his staff. This was a scout or a leftover half-soul. Half-machine. All wrong. He kneels beside it. The plating is dented and fused. Symbols of peace etched beneath the war glyphs. Old ones from their first prototypes. Hidden. Covered. Still there. He places a hand over its chest. Metal against metal. No ashes without breath, he says quietly. The ancient death rite of his order. It means nothing now. But he says it anyway. Rising, he turns toward the road leading out. The wind presses against his back. He doesn't look behind him. Until he sees it, just at the edge of the village, near where the fields once began. A tree, blackened but still standing, bent with age. Beneath it, a monk's robe hung on a rusted nail, faded orange, the color of his order. A message, maybe, or a memory. He doesn't touch it. He just stands there a moment, then walks past it. Each step takes him farther from the man he used to be. Each step is heavier. He does not cry. He's done with tears. Ahead lies the forge. The wind howls, and in it, faint and nearly lost, something groans. Metal, deep and old. The Iron Monk is still out there. They throw the rock before he says a word, and that's how he knows they're still alive. It hits his shoulder with a dull thud. Dust sprays off his cloak. Jin-Li doesn't flinch. He stands at the edge of a scorched field, ash curling in the dry wind. The sun's too low, too red, painting long shadows from ruined trees and rusted plowshares half buried in soot. Farmland once stretched for miles here. He remembers wheat tall enough to graze a monk's chest. Now it's all black stalks and silent fences. Ahead, 3 figures hide behind the wreckage of a collapsed barn. One crouches, barely moving. Another stands with a limp, a rusted scythe gripped in both hands. The third is small, child-sized. He can see the glint of pale eyes under the soot. Jin-Li doesn't reach for his staff. He doesn't speak. Instead, he slowly lifts his hands, palms forward, letting them see the prosthetic in full daylight. Brass and bone steel, etched with old monk sigils now charred at the edges. "I'm not with them," he says, voice low and firm. The old man shifts, weather-beaten, eyes hard as nails hammered into dried wood. His hands tremble on the scythe. "Back off, red blood." Jin-Li takes a single step closer. "I don't wear their colors." "Doesn't matter," the old man spits. "You smell like the ash. That's all the same to us." Behind him, the child picks up another rock, hefts it like a ritual. They're not crying, not scared either, just angry, ready. Taught young, he thinks, taught by fire. The boy throws again. This one misses. Jin-Li lowers his hands. He removes his hood. Scar tissue curls along the left side of his jaw. His hair is mostly gone, burned short. His eyes are old, tired, not cruel. But that's not what they'll see. They'll see a monk, a golem forger, a ghost of the Red Order's monsters. He speaks slowly, carefully. "That one's hurt." The old man doesn't look down. "Not your business." He won't last long with a wound like that. Infection's already in his gait. "Not your business," the man repeats, more like a growl. "Go back to the dead village, monk. See if any of your gods survived." Jin-Li's jaw tightens. He reaches into his satchel, deliberate, telegraphed, and draws out a glass vial, pale blue liquid, corked, wrapped in old prayer twine. The last of his monastery's healing draughts. He sets it on the ground between them, steps back. For the boy. The old man doesn't move. Behind him, the child stares at the vial like it's a trap. "Keep walking," the man says. "You don't have to trust me. Just save him. Go, or I put this blade in your gut and join my wife in the flames." Jin-Li looks him in the eyes, sees nothing but soot and stubbornness. He nods, once, then turns and walks. Behind him, the wind lifts his cloak like torn scripture. He doesn't look back. He doesn't wait to see if they take the vial. He already knows they won't, at least not while he's watching. They don't see a healer. They see a relic of war. A man with a machine for an arm and a past written in ruined villages. He walks the cracked path southward, toward the broken ridgeline. The sun dips lower, pulling red across the clouds like torn fabric. He passes a broken fence. One post still bears a prayer cloth, faded and flapping like an exhausted breath. It was once a monk's blessing. Spirits guide this home. Now it's a reminder. The spirits came, and they burned. He thinks of the Iron Monk's footsteps melted into the stone back in Rendaw Hollow. Thinks of Korran's voice in that twitching golem's throat. "Forgive me. Or maybe forget me. Either way, he can't. They think he's Red Order. Let them. They're not wrong. He helped build the bones of that monster, helped draft the chants that bound Korran's soul into steel. It was all meant to be balance, harmony through strength. Instead, it became war on every border. He touches the pendant in his pocket, the one from the shrine, still cracked, still warm. It's not forgiveness, it's not even penance, but it's something. Behind him, the sound of movement, soft, hesitant. He doesn't stop, but he hears it, the faint crunch of feet in ash. A child steps, the boy. Probably waited until the old man wasn't looking. Curiosity wins out over hatred, especially when blood is leaking from your leg. He doesn't turn around. Let the boy take the medicine. Let him live long enough to grow into the hate properly. Jin-Li keeps walking. The land opens up ahead, long and bleak. The forge is still days away, buried in the black canyons like a heart behind ribs. His hand tightens around the pendant. The fire wasn't the end, it was the price. And he's only begun to pay it. He knows they're near when the earth begins to tremble, not with weight, but with memory. The ruins slope down into what was once a mining camp. Shattered scaffolds, rusted ore carts, and the skeletal ribs of stone elevators long since collapsed. Jin-Li moves quietly, boots crunching soot and old gravel. The sun hangs low behind a veil of smoke. Everything here is gray, burned, half swallowed by time. His prosthetic arm hums. He slows, residual energy, faint but dirty, like old prayer smoke clinging to scorched steel, soul tech, left too long in the dark. He pauses near a shattered warning post and picks up a bent iron chime, still strung to a length of blackened twine. When he lifts it, it rings, barely, a dry, brittle sound. Echoes off the ruined stone like a memory too fragile to hold shape. Then the wind dies and the earth twitches. Jin-Li draws his staff, one smooth motion. Weighted iron clicks against his forearm as it unfolds. His stance shifts, knees low, heels planted, breathing shallow, centered. The first one crawls out of a collapsed shaft, dragging itself over splintered timber like a dying insect. It's humanoid in the loosest sense. One arm is a jagged mining pick, the other a fused loop of chain and bone. Its head is an open cage of brass filaments and a cracked lens that pulses blue with each jolt of motion. He's seen this model before. Not in design, in failure. 3 more rise behind it. Then 5, then 8. They emerge from rubble, from shadow, from collapsed machinery. Patchwork limbs, mismatched torsos, misshapen eyes. All broken, all moving. Something halfway between instinct and programming. Half sentient, half lost. Iron spawn. Leftover scavenger golems. Originally built for stonework, not combat. But they've been infected. Bent by the Red Order's sigils, overrun by leftover spirit core static. Feral now. One hisses. The sound is steam forced through shattered pipes. Then they charge. Jin-Li doesn't wait. He pivots on one foot and swings his staff in a wide arc, catches the first golem square in the chest. It buckles, sparks, limbs flail. He follows up, drives his shoulder into its core, uses the weight of his prosthetic to flip it backward over a twisted cart rail. It lands hard, seizing. Another lunges, too slow. Jin-Li spins his staff, shortens it mid-motion, and slams the end into the golem's throat cage. Something cracks. It goes down, twitching. 2 more flank him from opposite sides. They move like beasts, not machines. Erratic. He lets one close, then drops low and sweeps its legs with a sharp twist of his staff. As it falls, the other leaps. He meets it with a rising elbow from the prosthetic. The blow crushes its faceplate. The body flips midair, lands in a heap of twitching limbs. He breathes. Every strike is deliberate, every motion honed. His fighting style is a relic, just like him, designed not to kill, but to end. But these things don't know the difference. A larger one barrels out of the darkness, a stitched-together brute with 4 legs and a welded buzzsaw for a jaw. Jin-Li steps sideways, grabs a broken support beam, and pivots around it, redirecting the golem's momentum. It slams into the wall, brings half the scaffold with it. Dust explodes, iron groans. Another tries to rise from the debris, crawling on melted fingers. Jin-Li brings the staff down like a gavel, ends it. The ruins fall quiet. Steam hisses from fractured cores. The air stinks of ozone and charred machine oil. Then he hears it, a voice, not spoken, played, echoed. There is no fear in the design. He freezes. The words crackle from a damaged golem's throat, distorted, mangled, but he knows that cadence, that rhythm, that calm. Korran. Jin-Li steps back. The golem's eye glows once more. Red this time, just for a moment. Then it dies. He exhales slowly. The inside of his chest feels like it's packed with stone. "You gave them your voice," he mutters. "Now it commands death." He doesn't know if the message was programmed, accidental, or something worse. A ghost inside the metal, a shard of Korran bleeding through. He shakes it off, moves forward. Another golem rises, larger than the others, bulky, parts of 3 or 4 frames fused into one. It limps, dragging a misshapen arm made from old rail lines welded together. Its eye is a glowing ring of jagged teeth. It roars, though it has no lungs. Jin-Li doesn't flinch. He kicks over a pile of chains near the base of a support pillar, wraps one end around his wrist, hurls the other like a whip, catches the golem's arm mid-swing. The chain clinks tight. With a twist of his body, Jin-Li uses the beast's momentum against it, pulls, pivots, slams the thing off balance. It stumbles, crashes into the pillar. He wraps the chain again, pins it. The golem thrashes. The structure groans. He closes in, raises his prosthetic. A deep hum pulses from within, old monastery circuitry waking up. He drives the fist into the creature's core. One strike. The impact crushes inward. Energy discharges in a thunderclap of light. Then silence. Steam curls from the shattered body. The chime he found earlier, still tied to his belt, rings softly from the vibration. He stands over the wreckage. Ash drifts down like snow. The last of the iron spawn is gone, and it feels like nothing. No triumph. No glory. Just another failed prayer burned into steel. He breathes in. The air tastes like blood and rust. His hand tightens on the staff. His prosthetic hisses and retracts a blade fragment, now warped, overheating. "You taught them to serve," he says into the quiet. "Now they only remember how to kill." No one answers. The wind returns, brushing ash in lazy spirals across the broken stone. He keeps walking. Jin-Li lights the incense not for the dead, but for the memory of something that never lived. The last of the iron spawn lies broken beneath a scorched tree, its chest plate cracked open, gears twitching in slow, uneven jerks. Pale light flickers from its core, fading spirit energy trying to hold shape. It hums like a throat half remembering how to pray. Jin-Li kneels beside it, his legs creak. The prosthetic arm whines faintly as he unclasps a leather pouch from his belt. Inside, fragments of sacred oilstone, wrapped in linen stained with soot, monk-forged, smuggled from the temple long before it fell. He takes a piece, small, triangular, and presses it to the dying golem's core. It hisses. The light inside dims further but steadies. He begins to chant. The words are ancient, not meant for machines, not really, once used to guide spirits from bodies to the beyond. But when the old ways failed to protect the weak, the monks repurposed them. Chanted not to release the soul, but to unbind it from steel. Breath to breath, spark to spark, no fire clings to the wind, let the wheel turn. He draws a symbol in the soot with his thumb, a spiral nested inside an open hand, the mark of peaceful cessation. The golem shudders, its eye, cracked, dim, flickers once, then fades, gone. He stays kneeling. This wasn't a man, it wasn't even a true sentience, just the residue of some other soul, stretched too thin and hammered into form. But still, he honors it. He wraps the stone fragment again, reaches into the pouch for the copper monk's seal, etched with his original name, burnished from years of use, unbroken until now. He presses it gently to the golem's chest. The spirit glass there steams and blackens, the seal chars, a hairline fracture splits through the middle, sharp and final. Jin-Li watches it crack and feels nothing, or maybe too much. He exhales, rises, ash slides from his robes. He doesn't brush it off. He stands silent for a moment longer before the memory comes for him. Flashback, the first prototype. The forge hall is warm, filled with golden light and the scent of oil and cedar smoke. Incense curls through the rafters, winding between paper lanterns that hum with old spirit script. It's peaceful here, clean. Young Jin-Li sits cross-legged beside a half-assembled frame, copper ribs splayed wide like a chest opened for inspection. He hums softly as he sands a lens crystal, careful not to score the inner surface. Across from him, Master Korran carves mantra loops into a spine rod. His hands are steady, precise. His eyes flick up and meet Jin-Li's. "You're rushing," Korran says. "I'm not," Jin-Li replies, but he slows anyway. "You do not shape machines," Korran says. "You shape intention." Jin-Li stops sanding, looks up, and if the intention breaks, Korran smiles, then the soul must bend. Jin-Li frowns. Korran sets down the spine and walks over, kneels beside him. He lifts the lens crystal from Jin-Li's hands and holds it to the light. "You see this?" tiny flaw, invisible unless it catches the sun just so. Jin-Li leans in, nods. Korran rotates it slowly. Intention is the same, looks pure until pressure finds the weak point. Jin-Li doesn't respond. He wants to believe the teaching, wants to believe their craft is more than just engineering, that the souls they work with, fragments of the willing dead, are lifted, not chained. But even then, something in him knows better. Weeks later, another prototype, sleek, powerful, still inert. Korran shows him a new binding loop, a reconfiguration of the mantras, tighter, more efficient. Jin-Li studies the diagram. It's coercive, it's precise, it seizes control. Korran shakes his head. It focuses the will. If we're going to survive the southern incursions, we must build guardians who don't falter. We were supposed to guide. We still do, Korran says, but we guide from within, not beside. That's when the first Iron Monk is born. Present, ash and doubt, Jin-Li stares at the cracked seal, still pressed against the golem's chest. The wind picks up, soft and dry. Ash spirals across the earth like drifting prayers that never found a god. He picks up the seal, holds it in his metal hand. It's split clean through. He slides it back into the pouch, careful not to let the edges cut the cloth. We didn't build peace, he thinks. We built weapons with names, saints with swords, and we taught them to kneel before they learned to stand. He steps back from the corpse, looks at the tree, blackened, bent by fire. He remembers planting one like it with Korran after the first successful binding. A symbol, a vow. Everything burns eventually. He turns away, walking toward the path that leads down into the gulch. The forge is still a day away, maybe less, if the road hasn't collapsed. His staff clicks softly against the stone. Another golem buried, another name unsaid, another weight added to the one already on his back. He walks like a monk carrying his own funeral. Because in a way, he is. The path bleeds red, not from blood, but from banners waving like open wounds. Jin-Li walks alone into the bones of the world. The land shifts as he enters the Red Order borderlands. Forests thin. Trees stand like blackened ribs, scorched and peeled to charcoal under war's breath. Metal pylons spike from the ground at odd angles, humming with latent power. They glow faintly, not with fire, but with whatever the Order pumps through the veins of this ruined soil. The air tastes like old copper and cold incense. He stops beside a tree. A Red Order pamphlet hangs nailed to the bark, paper waterproofed with soul wax, text seared with propaganda fire. It reads, "Obedience is the shape of peace. Let the soul be recast." He tears it down, not out of anger, just necessity. A mile later, silence folds over the trail. No birds, no wind, too quiet. They learned discipline after the first wave failed, he thinks. Now they strike like monks, precise, devoted. He steps beneath a slanted pillar, then stops. The world holds its breath. Three shapes slip from the undergrowth, crimson robes edged in steel thread. Their faces are pale, eyes gleaming faint blue from neural ports embedded in the temples. Augmented, spirit-forged. Their mouths move in sync. One holds twin electro-knives, blades humming low. Another has a shoulder-mounted spirit glaive, twitching in midair like a scorpion's tail. The last chance, not at Jin-Li but at his arm. Words that shouldn't exist. Mantra hack hybrids. Code as prayer. Jin-Li feels his prosthetic tighten. A spike of static runs up the shoulder. He grits his teeth, yanks a latch, and disables the limb manually. It drops with a thunk to the dirt. "Your path ends, traitor," the one with knives says. But it's not rage, it's liturgy. He moves, fast. Jin-Li sidesteps, grabs a branch, and swings it upward into the attacker's ribs. One blade misses his throat by inches. He drops low, sweeps the legs. The second attacker, Spirit Glaive Man, fires. Jin-Li rolls, lets it cut through the branch above him instead. He grabs his fallen arm, swings it like a club. Blunt force, bone crack. The chanter advances, voice rising, hands glowing. A mantra tries to crawl into Jin-Li's nerves. He lunges. A blur of motion, grabs the chanter's wrists, knees the gut, drives an open palm into the throat. A sickening crack. The chanting stops. The man dies whispering Korran's name. Only one remains. Spirit Glaive arcs wide. Jin-Li ducks, rushes. They slam together into a broken shrine post. He jams his staff under the scout's chin, forces him down. The glaive twitches again, fires upward, but Jin-Li shifts, causing it to misfire into the ceiling. He drives the staff through the chest. Silence, again, just whine now. He stands over them, breathing hard. Blood mixes with red dirt. Steam lifts from metal skin where enhancements shorted out. He looks down. One of them clutches something. A pendant, familiar, circular, copper, monastic, from Jin-Li's own order. You studied the same texts, he whispers. You burned the same incense. He doesn't feel proud, only necessary. He kneels, opens the pouch of the final scout, a scroll, sealed with a blood brand. He breaks it, unrolls, it bears his name. Kill order, handwritten, stamped by the inner coil. Jin-Li, traitor monk, marked for reclamation or execution. They know, he was a myth. Now he's a target. They want to reforge me, he thinks, just like the others, just like Korran. He takes the scroll to the small fire pit nearby, burns it, watches the ink curl and twist, words dying in smoke. He takes the pendant, presses it to his chest, then tosses it into the ash. Red is no longer a color, he says, it's a direction. He keeps walking. The mountain doesn't breathe anymore, it screams. Jin-Li stands at the ridge. Below him, the Iron Monk's forge sprawls like an infected wound carved into the stone. Red banners snap in the wind, stitched with glyphs, not prayers. Their color is not symbolic anymore, it's warning. Smoke spills from chimneys that didn't exist in his time. Slag flows in open rivers through concrete channels. Cranes bend like iron skeletons over the valley, dragging soul core crucibles from one assembly trench to another. Once this was a monastery. Now it builds monsters. He stares down, breath slow, hand resting on the haft of his broken staff. We once chanted here to calm the wind. Now the wind stinks of oil and screams. He descends. The outer wall is half demolished, the archway warped and slagged, crowned with the Red Order's command sigils burned over old teachings. The golden inlay is black now. The flame motifs twisted. He walks slowly beneath it. Years ago, he and Korran stood under this same arch, watching initiates bungle their sutra recitals and laugh about it over morning tea. Now the only sound is steam hissing from rusted pipes. He runs a hand over a cracked prayer stone at the gate's edge. It's been partially melted, the inscription gutted. Once it read, "Shape without domination, fire must listen to the soul." Now only a jagged smear remains. A forge can make anything, but it can't remake what it destroys. He slips through a narrow side trench, a maintenance crawl space once used by the monks to clean ash ducts. It's still here, unwidened, too small for machines. The air thickens immediately, warmer. Every surface trembles slightly underfoot, not with life but with pressure. The hum of 100 moving parts, the heartbeat of a metal god. He presses forward. The molten roar deepens. Faint chanting rises through the floor vents, not voices but audio loops. Old mantras stretched into industrial rhythms. He passes a fallen prayer gong, warped, scorched, and wired directly into a power relay. It pulses in rhythm, the sacred turn to circuitry. He keeps moving. Jin-Li emerges into the Hall of Silence. He stops. Once a chamber for cleansing and meditation, it's now a staging floor, scattered with half-built golems, steel fuel drums, coolant piping, and melted devotional offerings. The enlightened flame statue still stands at the far wall, cracked and blackened. A Red Order helmet now sits atop its head, crooked like a crown. He walks through like a ghost in his own memory. Here, he used to kneel. Here he once burned incense for clarity before beginning a forge fast. Now ashes of a different kind stain the floor. They didn't just conquer us, he thinks. They rewrote us. He kneels, not in reverence, but to check the soul lines across the floor. They pulse faint red active, but not overloaded. Good. The inner chamber hasn't been fully fortified yet. He's not too late. He passes the old dormitory corridor, walls stripped. Monk robes hang from exposed piping like discarded trophies. Meditation bowls stacked like scrap, filtering molten residue from the coolant drains. Every piece of this place has been converted. Red is not color here, it's law. He reaches the last gate. Massive, seamless, steel braided with spirit glass veins. On the other side waits the soul furnace and the Iron Monk. He lays his hand against the surface, feels the faint heat, not dangerous, just constant, like breath held too long, and then a sound, not external, a voice, through the wall, faint, distorted, but unmistakable. Discipline is mercy. Flame is only holy when it is used, Korran. Not a memory, a recording, maybe a loop, or maybe him. Jin-Li closes his eyes. "I'm coming, old man," he says low. "This time I don't kneel." He steps back. The light behind the gate pulses once, like a warning or a heartbeat. He waits, still and ready. The air smells like scorched copper and old vows. Tomorrow won't come for this place. Only reckoning. The forge doesn't greet him with fire. It waits, with teeth. Jin-Li moves through the artery of the mountain, steps slow, deliberate. Pipes pulse around him like veins. Molten light flickers through cracks in the stone floor. The deeper he descends, the louder the heartbeat, mechanical, rhythmic, constant. He's inside a body now, a living thing of steel and will. The scent is sharper than before. Melted brass, burnt blood, incense rotted by heat. He knows this place by heart, and none of it feels like memory. Only desecration. He passes a hall where monks once fasted for clarity. Now it stores ammunition crates and backup soul cores. He's nearly to the furnace gate when they appear. Two silhouettes step from the far alcoves, moving in perfect synchrony. The light catches them, twins, identical in face but not in form. The one on the left is lean, fast, arms replaced with razor-spindled prosthetics, body wrapped in crimson weave that flexes like living wire. The one on the right is massive, half flesh, half machine, spine replaced by pistons, legs like tower braces. A furnace heart glows beneath his ribs. Together they speak. He returns to the crucible. We are what you left unfinished. Jin-Li doesn't raise his staff. Not yet. He studies them. Their robes are red order, but beneath, he catches remnants, old monk seal stitches on their shoulders, modified, erased, reinforced, not just warriors, disciples. Your names, he asks. The lean one smiles. Ash, the brute growls. Iron, ash and iron. Fire's remnants, fire's weapon. You studied under Korran, Jin-Li says. Ash nods. We heard his voice in the flames. Iron steps forward, and answered with metal. They move together. Ash darts fast, a blur of slicing limbs. Jin-Li counters with his staff, catching the first strike, dodging the second. The third grazes his cheek. Blood blossoms. Iron roars and barrels in. Jin-Li spins away, barely. The floor shakes from Iron's impact. A pipe ruptures. Steam screams. Jin-Li vaults onto a catwalk. Ash is already there. You fear the new shape, Ash hisses. We are the evolved form of your faith. You're a footnote in a heretic scripture. They clash. Ash slashes fast and high. Jin-Li deflects, redirects, counters. A glancing blow lands, his shoulder burns. Below, Iron tears through machinery to get to them. Jin-Li leaps off the platform, lands hard, rolls. Ash follows. Jin-Li ducks under a conveyor belt, kicks slag into Ash's optics. The twin hisses, blinded. Iron charges. Jin-Li rips a soul core conduit from the wall. Sparks explode. He swings it like a flail, striking Iron's knee. The leg buckles, but doesn't break. Iron grabs him by the throat, lifts. Pain blooms white behind his eyes. You built this place, Iron growls, and now you will burn in it. Jin-Li pulls a prayer-etched knife from his sash, stabs it into Iron's wrist joint. The grip loosens. He drops, hits the floor, rolls, throws the knife. It hits Ash in the thigh. Both stumble. Jin-Li grabs a chain lever, pulls. A gantry collapses, pinning Iron under steel. Ash limps toward him. We remember his voice in the heat, do you? Jin-Li steadies himself. I remember when it told the truth. Ash strikes again. Jin-Li blocks with the damaged prosthetic. The limb shudders, overheats. He lets it go, literally. Unclamps it at the shoulder, uses the remaining weight to swing his staff one-handed. It hits Ash square in the jaw. Bone cracks. Ash falls. Jin-Li kneels beside the writhing twin. Let the wheel turn, he whispers, and strikes once, clean. Silence. Iron heaves the gantry off his body. He's bleeding coolant and spirit fluid. Jin-Li grips his staff tighter. Iron charges. Jin-Li dives to the side, rolls, finds a vent lever, twists, steam floods the room. Iron bellows. Jin-Li emerges behind him, jumps, wraps the prayer chain around Iron's neck, pulls. The brute thrashes, slams him into a pillar. Once, twice. Jin-Li's vision blurs, his ribs crack. Still, he pulls. Iron falls to one knee. Jin-Li lets go, spins, drives the blunt end of the staff into Iron's core. The light inside flickers, then dies. Jin-Li stumbles back, coughs, everything hurts. He wipes blood from his face, limps forward. The furnace gate looms ahead, soul light glows behind it. He looks down at Ash's body. One hand clutches a twisted monk's pendant, the same kind Jin-Li once wore. He takes it, stares, then drops it. They weren't forged, he says, they were twisted. He walks toward the gate, and the final reckoning. The furnace doesn't burn, it listens. Jin-Li descends the spiral steps carved into the heart of the mountain, each one blackened by centuries of soot and fire. The deeper he goes, the more the heat presses in, not just on his skin, but in his bones. He breathes in, slow. Ash scours his throat. The air tastes like iron and old incense. The chants begin halfway down, not sung, played, mechanical, layered, familiar. Snatches of the flame sutras twisted into rhythm, prayers reprogrammed into algorithms. Korran's voice, filtered, drawn out, broken into syllables like they've been carved from stone. Jin-Li keeps moving. The heart of the forge was never a place. It was a man. He reaches the bottom. An archway looms ahead, choked in wires and glowing glyphs. He steps through it into a chamber the size of a temple, the size of a wound. Above, machinery hangs like metal vines, pipes, chain rigs, suspended crucibles glowing orange. Soul furnaces ring the space, pumping molten light into channels across the floor. Steam hisses from vents, sparks drift like falling stars. And at the center, the Iron Monk, 10 feet tall, forged from contradiction. One leg brass, the other steel, left arm segmented like a mantis claw, the right hand carved into a replica of a monk's palm, open as if still in blessing. Plating mismatched, copper filigree from the old days spliced beside bone-white synth metal. His back is wired into a cradle of molten power, tethered by thick cables pulsing with soul energy. One eye glows blue, the other red, then the voice. "Welcome, Jin-Li. You've come to close the loop." He steps forward, doesn't speak, doesn't bow. The Iron Monk turns its head. The neck creaks like old wood under pressure. "Do you see what I have become?" "I see what I failed to stop." A pause. The head tilts. If it's mocking him, it's subtle. "I gave the order my soul freely. You remember that, don't you?" "I remember the room, the smoke, your hands shaking before the binding started. I was not afraid. You were human." The Iron Monk's shoulders shift. Humanity ends where fragility begins. Jin-Li circles slowly, scanning the floor, the rig lines, the molten flow valves. Measuring, the Iron Monk remains centered, not attacking, yet. "Peace is submission," the voice drones. "Order is obedience. Only the controlled can be protected." "Is that what you think you are now? Protected? I am beyond protection. I am purpose." Jin-Li scoffs. "You built armor to guard faith. Then you stuffed that armor with fire and called it salvation. I became the vessel. You ran from it. I walked away so I could remember what we were. We were weak." "No," Jin-Li says. "We were careful." Silence again. The Iron Monk scepter arm folds outward, transforming mid-motion into a war staff as long as Jin-Li is tall. Steam hisses from its vents. The soul furnace behind it hums louder, brighter, pulsing like a second heartbeat. "You've brought no army. I brought the truth. Then bring it to your grave." The Iron Monk surges forward. Jin-Li rolls aside as the war staff smashes the ground where he stood. Stone splits. Heat erupts upward. He moves fast, darting behind a hanging chain line. The Iron Monk swings again, slow but precise. Jin-Li ducks, sweeps the legs, but they hold like pillars. The construct doesn't wobble. He bounces back, breath sharp. "It's not just strength, it's memory. It knows how I fight." "Still using old kata," the Iron Monk says. "You always did prefer form to function." Jin-Li doesn't answer. He sprints up a support ramp, draws in breath, and leaps, drives his staff down at the soul conduit running along the Iron Monk's back. It catches the strike midair, throws him. He lands hard. Pain ripples through his ribs. The Iron Monk moves in slow, deliberate steps. I have watched centuries burn from this place. The Red Order expands, the faithful bend, the disobedient break. Jin-Li rises, bleeding now. His right leg screams. But he's smiling. "You think this ends with me?" he pants. "There will be others. I only need to end you." The fight reignites. Jin-Li dodges a crushing backhand, uses the rebound to launch into a spin kick that dents the Iron Monk's shoulder plate. He lands, rolls, grabs a loose chain, and swings it across the neck, tight. The Iron Monk wrenches backward and throws him again. This time he lands near a molten channel. The heat peels the edge of his robe. He grits his teeth, clambers back up. "You're not a warrior anymore. You're an old prayer someone forgot to finish." He flips a pressure lever. Molten metal floods part of the platform, cutting off the monk's path for a second. Jin-Li climbs a scaffold. Higher, narrow footing. He moves fast now, repositioning. Not to escape, to angle. The Iron Monk follows, heavy, slow, but its voice doesn't stop. "They worship me, you know. Not as a god, as a standard. I am proof that faith can survive in steel." "You're not faith," Jin-Li calls back. "You're a tomb." He drops, staff first, slams it into the head. The plating dents, sparks fly. Jin-Li lands beside the thing, pivots, strikes at the core chest plate dented from battle already. Another hit, then another. It staggers. He goes for the final strike. But the Iron Monk reacts, faster this time. Its war staff drives into Jin-Li's abdomen. Pain, blinding, blunt, deep. He gasps, can't scream, can't breathe. The Iron Monk withdraws the staff, lets him fall. He hits the floor, bleeding, one arm limp. His prosthetic is gone, his sides torn open. He crawls backward, vision swimming. The Iron Monk looms. You could have been like me, purified, useful. Jin-Li wheezes. Useful doesn't mean right. He reaches into his belt, pulls the Copper Monk's seal, cracked, faintly glowing. He sets it against the Iron Monk's chest, just above the soul core. The Iron Monk hesitates. The voice stutters. Do not fail the order. Jin-Li grips his last strength, whispers, "Let the wheel turn." He slams the end of his staff into the seal. The soul core flares, then implodes. The Iron Monk convulses. Plates shatter. Light bursts from within. The voice screams, not in rage, not even in pain, in memory. The construct stumbles, staggers, falls hard, and doesn't rise. Silence returns to the forge, then rumbling. The soul furnace destabilizes, the core cracks. Molten lines surge beyond capacity, steam blasts from walls, lights flicker and die. Jin-Li forces himself up. His ribs grind. His side bleeds freely, but he walks, one step, then another. He staggers to the edge of the chamber as the platform collapses behind him. Flames chase him to the stair. He climbs, doesn't look back. He emerges into pale morning light, smoke in the air, his robes half burned, his arm gone, blood crusted on his face. Behind him, the forge shudders. Explosions echo down the mountain. Fire spills from the broken vent shafts. The Iron Monk's legacy burns. Jin-Li watches it from the ridge, breathing shallow, silent, no prayer, no celebration, just the end of something that should never have begun. He turns, walks into the ash, alone, but not lost, not anymore. He doesn't remember leaving the chamber, only the weight of the sky when he finally collapses onto stone. Jin-Li staggers through the cracked threshold of the forge. The mountain behind him groans, a low, hungry sound, like the mountain itself is chewing through its own bones. The soul furnace ruptures. Flame spears skyward in a burst of molten pressure. It climbs higher than the towers once stood, an unholy sunrise. The roar that follows is deafening. It wipes out memory. Sound. Thought. He doesn't look back. He can't afford to. The skin along his ribs peels with every step. What's left of his robe smolders, blackened and shredded. His left side is soaked in blood. His right arm, gone below the shoulder. The stub is seared and wrapped with a piece of burnt sash. He keeps walking. If the soul survives the fire, it's only because it forgets how to scream. He braces himself with the last third of his staff, charred and splintered. Each step is a pact. A promise to not die here. Not yet. Not while there's still breath in the dirt and ash on the wind. The wind shifts behind him. The forge collapses. He turns his head just enough to see it, the spires falling one by one in slow ruin. A monument of belief shattered from within. Smoke rolls upward in choking spirals, thick and black, dotted with dying sparks. We built a temple. They made a weapon. I buried both. He reaches the ridge, the same one he crossed before the twins. Before Korran, before everything fell into the fire. Now it's quiet. The sky is ash gray, smeared with streaks of orange light. The sun pushes through smoke like a dying eye. Below, the valley spreads wide, burned forests, broken earth. No birds, no wind, only silence. His breath is shallow. Each inhale tears something raw. He unclasps the broken monk's seal from his belt, the one he's carried too long. The copper badge is blackened, cracked, no longer recognizable. He holds it in his palm, then lets it fall. It lands without sound. He doesn't watch it settle. The wind picks up again, dry, sharp, not cleansing, but clear. The way morning air should feel after a funeral. He walks. The road ahead is nothing but black sand and bone-white trees, a burned path through a burned world. The Order will rebuild, he thinks. Maybe not here, maybe not now, but somewhere. Men like Korran don't stay dead. They echo. A gust of wind kicks up ash. It spins around him, clinging to his skin like memory. A single feather-shaped wisp drifts down. He catches it in his palm. It crumbles the moment he closes his fingers. No signs, no omens, just dust. And still he walks. Not limping, not retreating, just forward. His body is wrecked, but his spine is steel, not forged, not artificial, just hardened, like something refired in the worst kind of heat. They made monsters from faith. I made peace from ruin. But peace doesn't mean rest. He crests the next rise, pauses, smoke curls on the horizon again, distant fires, small villages, flares of resistance, or conquest. He doesn't know, doesn't care, not yet, but he sees the pattern. The old cycle, the wheel turning again. He reaches into the folds of his robes, pulls free what's left of the prayer beads. They're melted, twisted, mostly useless. He threads them once around his wrist anyway. You don't carry tools for what they do. You carry them to remember what they meant. He stops at the last rise before the ridgeline vanishes behind him, breaks what's left of his staff. He plants one half upright in the dirt, a marker, no grave, just a place. The other half he tucks under his arm, using it as a walking stick. The dawn creeps behind the ash, the forge is gone, Korran is gone, but the order still breathes. Let it. Ashes walk with me, he murmurs. And then he disappears into the smoke. Ink dries faster in smoke. The scribe dips the soul glass quill into iron-red ink and begins again. His hand does not tremble. He writes with the reverence of ritual, slow, precise strokes carved into a brass-etched scroll plate. Each letter etched in the old glyphs, each phrase recited aloud like a benediction. Here is recorded the end of the Iron Monk, he who burned for order. The archive is lit by one oil lamp and the light from the rune torch embedded in the ceiling. Smoke curls slowly above the desk, swirling against the low stone ceiling like the last breath of a dying flame. Outside, the mountain is silent. No alarms, no sirens, no machines stirring. Not yet. In the 77th cycle, the heretic Jin-Li of the Old Seal breached Forge Korran. The vessel was compromised, soul core destroyed. He pauses, not to rest, to think. The scribe is young, 20, maybe less. Robes still crimson bright, untouched by war. But his eyes are old, drained of wonder, shaped by belief. His name is not given, not needed, only his role. He's a witness. We do not grieve, the fire does not lament its own coals. He finishes the inscription, sets the scroll plate into the seal chamber. Red light flares briefly, branding it with the sigil of the order. The open eye over the hammer, surrounded by script that reads, shape the soul, break the will, reforge. The desk retracts, the floor hums, stone shifts behind him, massive, slow. A wall that is not a wall rotates inward, revealing a dark vault beyond. The air changes, cooler, still saturated with energy, old energy, residual, waiting. The scribe steps forward. He does not blink at the sound of machinery awakening. He's been prepared for this moment, groomed for it. The fall of the Iron Monk was not unexpected. It was foreseen. Phase 2 begins with the fall, he whispers. Inside the vault, suspended in a crystalline binding ring, is the next construct. Smaller than the Iron Monk, narrower, more refined. The design is sleeker, less ceremonial. Its limbs are jointed like a predator's. Its torso is engraved with mantra loops, but the symmetry is different, sharper, less philosophical, more tactical. One side of its face is plated in bronze, polished like a mask. The other is exposed spirit glass, glowing faintly red from within. Its core beats behind a protective shield of blackened jade, dormant, but only just. The scribe approaches. Directive Ember, confirmed, he says aloud, his voice monotone. Golem seed line activated, Korran sequence archived, legacy preserved. He opens a small reliquary at the golem's base. Inside, a single copper monk's seal broken, burned, fused to a shard of soul glass. He doesn't touch it, he just nods. Let the old path burn, we walk the newer spiral now. A sound, soft, barely audible. A twitch. The golem's hand moves, 3 fingers flexing, then locking into a mudra gesture once used in meditation. Its breath valve hisses, slowly, mechanically. The construct isn't awake, but it is aware. The scribe steps back, he clasps his hands, bows deeply, and speaks again, not to anyone in the room, but to the dark beyond the mountain, to the war yet to come. Let the ashes walk, let the flame speak again. The chamber seals behind him, he does not look back. We hope you enjoyed this presentation. This has been Nexus Scrolls.